this chapter is talking, it admonishes informers and slanderers and flatterers. That's the headline of the kapitel. And this, and we're going to go through it once with a simple translation, with a basic translation, and then we're going to come back and go through it again with a little bit deeper meaning, a deeper understanding in the kapitel. So Lam Matzeach, to the conductor, ala Shminis, that plays, the conductor that plays with this Shminis. The Shminis comes from the number 8. So most commentaries say it's talking about an 8-string harp, a harp that has 8 strings. Mizmer LeDavid, a psalm for David. Hoshia Hashem. So David cries out to Hashem, Hashem help, ki gamar chassid, because there is no more pious ones, chassid, pious, ki fasu emunim mibnei adam, because the faithful have vanished. The faithful people, bnei adam, that are faithful, are vanishing quickly. They're disappearing. Shav Yidabru, the people that are around, they're talking falsehoods. Ishes re'eyus fas chalokes, they're talking with flattering lips. Fas chalokes is really like slippery lips, but flattering in a slippery way, not in a good way. But leiv v'leiv yidaberu, that they are talking with 2 hearts, and we'll get into that a little bit more soon. Yachris Hashem, David asks Hashem that he should cut out those that talk with these with kalsifsei chalakis, those who talk with these flattering lips. Lashin midaberes gedolos, the tongues that talk boastfully. Gedolos means big. It means over here boastful, according to most. But the idea of big, that they talk in a haughty way, in a big way, in a boastful way. Asher Amru, what do they say? Lil Sheinenu Nagbir Svasenu, Lil Sheinenu Nagbir, that our tongue will overcome, will get us where we want to get. Right? These are the Rishayim talking, the evildoers talking. Svasenu Itanu, our lips are with us. Mi Aden Lanu, who will be master over us? We can do whatever we want. Mishai Danim, those who these Rishayim are plundering the poor. Me'enkas of Yoinim, there's also the cry of the needy. So David HaMelech cries out, Ata Akum, right now, Hashem, please rise up. Yemer Hashem, Ashis beyesha yafiach loi, and what does Hashem say? That I will now rise up and I'll grant deliverance to those who are being the ones that are being run after, meaning the poor that he mentioned in the beginning of the pasuk. This is kind of a new part of the kapitel. Imreis Hashem Amares, but David HaMelech continues and says that the words of Hashem, Imreis Hashem Amares Tahiris, they are words, they're pure words. Kesef Tzaruf, they're so pure, they're like pure silver, refined pure silver. Tzaruf, Ba'alil La'aretz, that you find in the earth. And Mizukok Shivasayim, that are purified 7 times. But it doesn't say that it's purified 7, Shiva Sayim, which according to some mean 7 times 7. But the basic idea is that it's like that Hashem's words are so pure, they're like silver that is purified, right? You take something out of the ground and it's not purified, but when you purify it once, twice, etc., so once it gets purified multiple times, then and that's how refined and pure Hashem's words are. Ato Hashem Tishmneim, Hashem, you should watch over them. Seems to be talking about the poor people and the needy. Titzrenu min aderzu la'olam, safeguard them from the people of this generation forever. Saviv Rishayim is halachim. The Rishayim, the wicked, the evil people circle around. Krum Zulus livnei Adam, and they are despised by the exalted people. This pasuk especially needs a lot of explanation, which we're going to get back into by the time we get to the end of the class. So once again, we're going to go through the kapitel and we'll translate it. It seems that David HaMelech is complaining about the fact about the fact that righteous people dying, that the good people of the generation are becoming less and less. The Rishayim, we mentioned this in other chapters, that the Rishayim, the evildoers, prosper. That's what we mentioned in last week or 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we talked about the idea of Rishayim, of evildoers prospering. But here it's more that the generation is thinning out from tzaddikim and chasidim. Tzaddikim meaning righteous people, chasidim literally translated as pious people. Two different types of the good guys that David HaMelech needs on his side, and there's becoming less and less, and he's asking Hashem to help out on that end. And also, since there are less righteous people to take care of the poor and the needy, so Hashem, you should help out the poor and the needy. So it's those two things that it seems that David HaMelech is saying in this week's kapitel. So for verse number 1, so we already had, I think it was chapter number 6, that we had the Shminis already. We talked about this at length at that chapter. If you want, I can send you the link to listen to that, to the beginning of that kapitel again. But most commentaries talk about the fact that it's an 8-string harp. A regular harp in those times was a 7-string harp, and it says that when Mashiach comes, that King David will sing his Tehillim on an 8-string harp. And that's what it's saying, Ala Shminis. It's talking about a future, talking about Mashiach. At the end, we'll tie it in also how the whole kapitel might be talking also about a future time, not about a current time. So it could fit in well with that idea as well. But most commentators say it's talking about 8-string harp, talking about time of Mashiach, when the righteous will taka overcome the wicked, when the tzaddikim will overcome the Rishayim, and that's until then it won't necessarily happen. But that's what the kapitel is talking about. We also talked about last time about 8 being beyond nature. We talked about 8 being the bris, etc. The commentaries do bring it up over here, but say that we explained it already in chapter 6, so I'm going to leave it at that as well. But the basic, like right away, most of the Rishonim come and say it's talking about the 8-string harp, Hashminis, the 8-string harp. Pasuk number 2, Hashi Hashem, he's asking Hashem to help out, and this continues. This idea is that David is saying that there's nobody else to help me. I don't have the righteous and the pious to help me, so Hashem, you have to help me. There's nobody else. That's the way the Mamlayas explains this over here. Rashi over here says that, when you learn Navi and you learn about the story of David, you see that there were many people that tricked him, and this is a little bit of what this kapitel is talking about. Those who tricked him or gave away information about him to Shaul, and primarily those who lied about him to Shaul. Because that's also the problem that he had, that people lied about him and said, because if people would have said the truth, Shaul wouldn't have been so angry with him, but people lied about him, and that's what the problem was. So Rashi over here says that that's what he's complaining about, that Hashem, you should help me, that because there's those that lie about me, and there's those who are telling Shaul where I am hiding. And Radak says similarly that David HaMelech is saying that the whole generation are a bunch of Rishayim, and I need your help. Hashi Hashem, I need your help. And on that note, Mitzudas also continues that not only around me, I don't have any righteous people that are going to help me. There's nobody even in Shaul's camp that hates, the Mitzudas says, there's nobody in Shaul's camp that hates a lie that would defend me, and that's also what he's complaining about. That in Shaul's camp, if there was one person that would stand up and say, well that's not true, or David would never do something like that, or say something like that, etc., it would be of big help to him. So that's also Hashem ki gamar chassid, because there's no more pious people that are going to help me out, whether, according to some commentators, it means around him, or those that are around King Shaul. Imam Leis brings up something interesting. It says, this is brought down in the Gemara, that Mashiach won't come until and it gives either extreme. Either everybody is so righteous that the world deserves Mashiach, or that the world is in such a bad state that if Hashem doesn't send Mashiach, that could be the end of it. That's what it says. And our sages bring this down. So Mamleis over here comes and says that that's what David HaMelech is saying over here. Gamar Chassid, there's no pious people anymore. Just bring Mashiach. When I was looking at the Mamleis, I'm like, if you think, like, David HaMelech says, it can't get any worse. Just look at our world today. And then you see it could get a heck of a lot worse. But that's what we say now. It's funny, I was talking to my father about the American elections that are coming up, and my father said, I don't care who wins, because either way, Mashiach's just gotta come. It's such a terrible situation that Mashiach just has to come. And that's Mamleis over here comes and says, there's no more pious people. So we're at a state that if Mashiach doesn't come, everything is going to go terribly wrong. So our sages say that Mashiach will come whether either because we're meritorious or because we're just all totally guilty. And that's what he's saying over here. Ki gamar chassid, there are no more righteous, there are no more pious, and we need Mashiach to come. Yeah, so that's that ki gamar chassid, so heishi Hashem. So they learn it the opposite way around, right? That if the second sentence of the pasuk, that there's no pious people, so heishi Hashem, you need to help, meaning you should bring Mashiach. So that is pasuk number 2. Pasuk number 3, shav yidabru. That they're talking lies, that the people around are talking lies. And interesting, the way it ends off, the way the pasuk ends off, believe valev. There's 2 ideas of hearts over here, believe valev. So first of all, when you say a lie, it means that it doesn't represent what's really in your heart. So that's the basic idea of what the pasuk is saying. That when it's shav yidabru, when you say a lie, it's that it's not your sfas halakis. You're saying something with your lips, but it's not really what's in your heart. So that's the first thing, and that represents the idea of having 2 hearts, so to speak. Meaning, one that you're expressing what's through your mouth, you're expressing outside, but really in the depths of your heart, you feel otherwise. You feel differently. And so that's the idea of having of 2 hearts. That the way you express yourself is one thing, but the way you feel really is something else. That's what he's talking about over here. And also that they're saying lies and they make it believable with flattering lips. And that's the other idea over here. That the sfas halakha is flattering lips, that they make their lies believable.
Reb Label.
Yeah.
When it says sfas halakos, doesn't, and my translation that I have here in my Tehillim is flattering, with smooth flattering lips and a double heart. But halakot, doesn't that mean divided in the sense that the lips are divided? It's like the forked tongue, this the forked tongue of the snake, the lips are divided. It says one thing, but it means something else. It speaks with falseness. Sfas halakot, they're divided, and then again it reiterates belev valev, 2 hearts. The heart is divided too.
So over here, halakot does not mean that. It can't mean that because it can't mean divided, because you don't divide lips. That doesn't work that way. It doesn't work in the translation. Over here it means halak, which means smooth. That's what right.
Okay.
There is a when you buy meat, when you buy kosher meat, you buy glat kosher. Glat is Yiddish. But in Hebrew, they call the same thing halak. Halak means smooth. The idea is over here that it's smooth. That's the literal translation. What's smooth? That they talk themselves out of things, or they lie about things, and that's the idea that's trying to bring up over here. But yeah, chelek could mean 2 separate things, but not in this case. So that's pasuk number 3. Pasuk number 4, yeah. So pasuk number 4, he says, Yachris Hashem, that Hashem should cut off those with the flattering lips, those with shayim. That's what he's saying in pasuk number 4. So the idea over here, the commentaries say either it's in a form of a prayer or it's a form of prophecy. So either he's saying it's a form of prayer that those are shayim, the evildoers who are after him and making trouble for David, that he's asking Hashem that he should take care of them, or in the form of prophecy that one day, as we mentioned in the beginning, that one day it will happen that the tzaddikim, that the righteous will overcome the rishayim, that the righteous will overcome the evil. So that's pasuk number 4, and then it ends off pasuk number 4. Lashon medaberes doilos, that they speak boastfully. Actually, before we talk about that, the idea of speech says that first of all, this is a general idea, off topic, but I mean really on topic. The idea of speech, how careful we have to be with talking, because even if we feel a certain way, but once we express it, first of all, there's no taking it back, and it's harder to work on ourselves. Sometimes if we're upset about something and we start talking about it in the wrong way, of course, if you talk about it in order to overcome it is one thing, but sometimes you lash out at somebody because you're upset, and then you talk about it, meaning you bring it up in the wrong way, and then it could destroy. Also, when you have an evil thought, a bad thought, a Russia style thought, not any of us, right? Obviously, but it could happen that someone will have a Russia style thought. But the thoughts, you can't necessarily control what kind of thoughts come into your mind, but what you could control is what you do about it. So if you talk about it, then you're giving it more. If you push it out of your brain, then that's the proper approach. So again, this idea of speech is a very powerful thing, and we should recognize that, and we should make sure that our speech is proper. And even if a negative thought comes up, it doesn't mean that we have not everything that you think you have to say. A very important lesson as well on a side note over here. So he ends off pasuk Daled, Lashon medaberes doilos, that they talk boastfully. What do they talk boastfully? What do they talk in grandiose and big? What's the idea? So that goes straight into pasuk Hey. That what do they talk? Asher amru, that they say that lil sheneinu nagbir, that our tongue will overcome, meaning we'll get out of anything. We'll be able to take. We'll they say, there's a Yiddish saying that mitaligen darf man halten cup. When you say a lie, you have to keep track, right? If you say the truth, so you just follow. Every time you say the truth, then you don't have to keep track. If you're gonna say a lie, you have to keep track of all your lies. That way, that you don't get caught up in your lies. All right. But what do they say? They say boastfully that our tongue will get us out of anything, and not only that, not only tongue, also our lips are with us. And mi adein lanu, who's going to be master of us? Who's going to be able to control us? Who's going to punish us, etc., etc. That's the process of that pasuk. That's basically what Rashi says, that with our tongue we'll overcome. Mitzuda says we'll be able to trick them with our tongue, that we're talking about the Russia towards the poor and the needy, right? So we'll be able to trick them. And Me'amlei says, brings down as an analogy, he says when Hashem created the mouth, he says, the tongue could be sly, it could be slippery. So what did Hashem do? He created two barriers, he created two fences. One is the teeth, and the other one is the lips. That's what the Medrash says, right? So he created those two barriers. So what does the pasuk say? The pasuk says that the Rasha says that our tongue will be able to do anything. Why? Because the lips are with us. Okay, the teeth will overcome the teeth, but we already have the tongue and the lips that are with us. So we'll be able to, and nobody will be able to control us. That's mi adin lanu, the end of that pasuk, who's going to be able to control us. Yeah, that's pasuk number 5. Pasuk number 6, Mishoid Aniyim Me'ankas Aviyim. So what's the problem? What's the problem with these Rishayim? The Rishayim is that they're going after the poor and the needy. Mishoid Aniyim Me'ankas Aviyim. So, and what's going to be? So, Ata Akum Yomer Hashem. Hashem says that now I'm going to rise up. Why all of a sudden now I'm going to rise up? What's when the poor and needy, all of a sudden Hashem's going to rise up? So first of all, Rashi says that he's talking about over here himself, that he's because he needs so much help, he's like the poor, or the koyanim of Noiv, which we talked about earlier, that someone told Saul, King Shaul, that David was hiding there and he killed out the town of Noiv. So whether he's talking about himself or the koyanim of Noiv, that's what Rashi says. But the Radak says that it's like this: since the poor and the needy, since they don't understand the falsehoods and like the flattering lips of the Rishayim that they're trying to trick them, there's nobody that's going to care for them. So Hashem, you have to rise up and you have to take care of the poor and the needy. There's nobody. We said in the beginning that there's no Gamar Chassid, there's no pious ones left. There's nobody that's going to stand up for the poor and for the needy. So Hashem, you need to stand up in order to take care of the poor and the needy. This also relates. This also relates to the idea that Hashem promised that He's going to take care of the poor and the needy, right? It says Hashem says it in the Torah that as long you start up with someone is one thing, but if you start up with the poor and needy, that's when I get upset, and that's where He says that that when there's the cry out of the poor and the needy, all of a sudden Hashem says, I will rise up now and take care of that. Because when it comes to that level, that's when Hashem gets ready to involve. And for those who are trying to lay traps for the poor and the needy, meaning with their words, and they're trying to trick them, so Hashem will come and take care. That's pasuk number 6. Pasuk number 7. So, as I mentioned before, pasuk number 7 kind of starts a new idea over here.
I want to ask you a question.
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
You want me to wait? I don't understand this sentence. Ashit beyasha yafiach lo. My translation says, "I will place in safety them at whom they blow." So at first I thought it's like the kapitel before, flee bird. Go to your mount. There's a place for you to be safe from these people. I'm going to put you in the place where you'll be safe. I will place them in safety. That's the poor and the needy, right? Hashem is going to rise and He's going to put them in a safe place. But so that I understand if that's what it means. I will place them in safety, them at whom they blow. That I don't understand. What do you mean? They blow means that they're sighing? Is that the sighing?
So Yofiach.
Who is them? Who's them?
Is the Russia.
Oh, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So and Yofiach, the word Yofiach is blow. It means to blow. It's nafachta. Yeah. We say vata nafachta bi, right? We say it every morning in that Hashem. It's a heavy blow. It's a strong blowing. It's used in the verse when Hashem blows into the nostrils of Adam, the first man, when he blows into him a neshama, it says that's the word that's used. So it's a strong blow. But the commentaries translate it as air with words. It's the words that the Rishonim use to try to entrap the poor and the needy.
But he says, "I will place in safety them."
Place in safety the ones that the Rishonim are trying to trap with their words.
Okay. I will place in safety the needy.
Yeah.
Them, the Rishayim,
meaning
blow their words at them.
From the Rishayim that blow their words.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. Pasuk 7, Imreis Hashem Amareis Tairis. So this is like it's a continuation, but it's like a new idea that he talks about, because really the next 3 psukim can kind of go very nicely together. That Hashem's words are pure. We just mentioned that David says that Hashem is going to now rise up because the poor and the needy need Him. That's because it says it in the pasuk, and Hashem's words are pure. When Hashem promises something, it's not like the Medrash says over here. He's not a human, not like a human that promises that when he promises, if hopefully he could fulfill. But if he can't fulfill, it's out of his out of his realm. It's out of his power. He can't do anything about it. But Hashem, when he promises, there's no such a thing that he can't fulfill. So when Hashem promises that he can take care of the poor and needy, Imreis Hashem, the words of Hashem, Amaris Tairis, they're pure words, meaning that he could obviously fulfill that which he promises, and that's the way Rashi it translates it. And Rashi even takes it a step further. He says not only about the promises towards the poor and the needy that Hashem says that He's going to take care of them, but also the promise that David will become king. It's also referring to that promise as well. That's the way Rashi explains it. And the Radak more brings it about the poor people. He's reminding Hashem that you said that when it will be that a poor person will cry out, I will listen. That's the pasuk in the Torah. So that's the reminder to Hashem, and the idea of the refining over here. That Hashem's words are pure, like the refinement of silver 7 times over, Shiva Sayim, 7 times over. So what's the idea over here? When you take silver out of the ground, or any type of gold or whatever, you take it out of the ground and you have to purify it. It's not pure. You have to purify it. It's a process of purifying. And if you purify it once, it's a certain level of purity. If you purify it 2, 3, 7 times, it's even more pure. And that's the idea over here, that Hashem's words are so pure, they're pure 7 times over. So that's the first comment on Shiva Sayim. And Hashem's words doesn't need purification. Hashem's words are pure. So that's the first idea over here in this in this pasuk. The Medrash over here says that when Hashem gave the Torah to Moshe, storing the Medrash like this. Hashem gave the Torah to Moshe. They brought up different halachas, and when they would bring up different ideas, Hashem would say 49 reasons why the halacha for this case would be tahar, which means pure, and then another 49 reasons why in this case it would be impure. And Moshe Rabbeinu would look at Hashem and say, but which one is it? So he says, no, you have to bring the Torah down to the Jewish people, and the Torah says Achrei Rabim La'ates, that you go according to the majority, and that's the whole Talmud. When you open up the Talmud, the arguments that ultimately the halacha goes in there's a process how we develop halacha, because we become partners in Hashem in this world in that way, and that's the way Hashem wants the Torah to be learned, and ultimately everything is sourced by Moshe from Har Sinai. So this is the idea of being purified Shiva Sayim, not 7. Shiva Sayim is 7 times 7, which is 49. And that's the Medrash connects this word Shiva Sayim, that's 7 times 7, the idea of 49, and that's the process of learning Torah. And then there's also another thing that Rashi mentions in the next pasuk, that in the times of David, so we were talking about that there's no Kigamar Chassid, that there aren't that many pious ones left, that David says, but the Medrash says, and Rashi brings it down, that at the time there were many children that learned Torah, and they learned Torah on such a deep level, they had such a great understanding on Torah, that they were able to, in every scenario, that they were able to give 49 reasons why it should be tahar, be pure, and 49 reasons why tamei, impure. And that's also connected with this word Shiva Sayim, that Hashem's words are so pure, they're 7 times over pure, 7 times 7 purified, and that's the idea of Torah, that you can learn it in 49 different ways, in the 49 different fashions. And that brings us to the next pasuk, that David says, Ata Hashem tishmereim, that Hashem, you should watch over them. So Rashi says that what's he talking about? Rashi says that first of all, he's talking about, on a basic level, he's talking about those who are being chased after by the Rishayim, by the evil people, that Hashem, you should watch over them. But then he continues and he says, it also is referring to that David is talking about these children that are studying Torah, and they're studying Torah on such a special level that they're able to understand Torah on such a deep level for the Shiva Sayim, the 7 times 7. So David is davening to Hashem that these children that are studying Torah, that they shouldn't learn from the bad ways of the generation. That Ato Hashem Tishnaim, Hashem, please, you should watch over them. Titzrenu, watch over, protect them, minadayrazu, from this generation. This generation that he talks about, ki gamar chassid, that there's no more pious ones. So the children, protect them, that they shouldn't be influenced by this generation. They shouldn't lo'ilam forever. And the Radak says, he adds to that he says Ato Hashem Tishmerim. He says that at this point there's nobody else that is capable of protecting them, of watching over them. So he's asking that Hashem, that you by yourself, on your own, without any intermediaries, you should protect and watch over the poor or these children, whichever way you're going to learn the pasuk, but that the protection and the watching over should come directly from Hashem. And then pasuk number 9. Saviv Rishayim Yisalachon, that the Rishayim, they're circling around, they're watching, they're circling around, and Krum Zulus Livnei Adam, that there's Krum means exalted, and Zulus Livnei Adam is that it's not nice, it's not proper for people. So how do we translate this? So the Rishayim say, so first of all, Rashi over here comes and says that the Rishayim come and they're surrounding me. They're waiting for me to slip up. They're waiting for me to make a mistake. And the Radak say that they're trying to do bad things towards the righteous people, towards the tzaddikim, that they're circling around. In Hasidic philosophy, there's this idea in general that whenever you have something holy, whenever you have kedusha, davar shel kedusha, whenever you have something holy, there's always negativity lurking around somewhere. So it's also the same idea, saviv rishayim. They're always around, saviv, around. Or another way you could learn it also is that the Rishayim have no purpose. They're always running in circles. They go to the job, and then they go home to eat supper, and then they go to sleep, to wake up, to go to the job, to go, right? And a Jew has a purpose in the world. We're here to make the world into a better place. We're here to learn Torah. We're here to do mitzvahs. We're here to connect with Hashem in so many ways. So there's a purpose to our lives instead of just running around in circles. So it's also another way to learn this pasuk. Saviv Rishayim. Rishayim are running around in circles. The Imam Leis also says that the Rishayim are trying to trap me, but when they get to their high spot, and that's Krum, the exalted spot, that high spot, Zulus Livnei Adam, ultimately they will have a downfall in shame. And the Imam Leis says, as what happened to Achitophel and to Avshalom. So that's what he's referring to over here. The Malbim over here says, this is another separate explanation over here. It says, if you go back to pasuk number 7, so Imreis Hashem Amaris Tairis, that the words of Hashem are pure, which means that we have to be very careful how we learn Torah. In general, there's a proper way to learn Torah. There's also a proper way to translate and to infer within Torah. When it comes to the Gemara, you could learn something, but there's a process and there's a Messiah, there's a tradition, the way it goes down from generation to generation, and it's a very important process in the way we learn Torah. The words of Hashem are pure. Imreis Hashem Amaris Tairis, they're pure. So David HaMelech, the Malbim says over here that David HaMelech is asking Hashem to protect that. Ato Hashem Tishmerim, protect your pure words that people shouldn't mistranslate, people shouldn't misquote, people shouldn't misrepresent Hashem's pure words of the Torah. That's Ato Hashem Tishmerim, and protect them minadayrazu, this generation that we don't have enough tzaddikim or pious people to protect the words of Torah. Because why? There's Rishayim, there's evil people, there's Rishayim that are trying to make trouble with the proper way of learning Torah. So don't let the Rishayim do that. And that's the way the Malbim explains, and that's why I said, like, these last 3 psukim can be an idea unto themselves, explained that way. That David HaMelech is davening to Hashem to make sure that the ideas within Torah shouldn't be distorted. just and to end off, there's also this idea that this whole kapitel is also talking about the Jewish people in exile and the yearning and that it's about time for Mashiach to come. And that's when the Jewish people will be exalted. That's when the Jewish people will overcome. That's when tzaddikim will overcome Rishonim. That's when you'll openly see that goodness is better than and overcomes the Rasha and the bad. And that's also another way the whole kapitel could be learned, that it's not necessarily about David Melech talking about his time and his troubles with people that are talking about him, Lashon Hara, etc., but also the going through Galus, such a long Galus, such a long exile, that it's about time Mashiach comes. And that's when we're going to be on the exalted. That's when we're going to be on. That's when you recognize the goodness, and that's when you recognize the righteousness and the good people overcoming the Rishonim. And with that, we finish chapter number 12.